everyone. Welcome to Waking the Dreamer, Class 2. Just watching as you all come into the space here. Welcome, welcome. And I invite you to put where you're calling from in the chat. And another thing. So when you get in, put where you're calling from, and also one word or quality that you're feeling or sensing right in the moment. So checking in with your body, with your physical body, your emotional body, and put in one quality that you're sensing or feeling, along with where you're calling from. Let's just take a little temperature check of the group tonight. Just how everybody is feeling. What's going on? Example, I'm feeling a little tiny bit chilled. It's been rainy and wet here and a little cold. And so there's that kind of cold dampness, I think I'm feeling a bit of. And I'm feeling a little excited about the class tonight. Butterflies. I could call it nervousness, but I choose to call it excitement. So just put your name and a quality, something you're feeling or sensing right now, right in the moment as you check in with your body. And I'm going to introduce you once again to Catherine Mitchell, who's here to support our group and our work tonight. She's up there and on my screen, she's on the left, in the far left corner. Catherine, you want to give a little wave? There she is, yeah. So welcome, welcome. All right, I think we're going to get started with Waking the Dreamer, Class 2, and we'll be talking about animism and the unifying power of the heart tonight. And I've got a few topics tied into that bigger one. And I'm also going to share a process, a practice for helping to take care of your energy body. So let's begin with coming to ground, and let's connect with our bodies and our breath, bringing our attention inward and calling back all parts of yourself, all parts of your energy field, your essence, your light, your consciousness. And with every in-breath, bringing more light, more of your own light back. And on the exhale, just letting go of whatever's not yours. Anything you may have picked up, any lower vibrating energy, anything that's not going to serve you tonight for this class. And so just coming inward. And let's bring yourself to a place, that beautiful place in nature where we've gathered in the spirit realm, in the realms of energy. We've gathered together for this class. And so those of you who weren't here last week, I said you can make it anywhere you like, but our virtual group is, you see everyone gathered in a circle. We're all in a circle. And we could be in a meadow or on the shore of a lake or on the side of a mountain. We're in a beautiful tent, even. Whatever feels good for you. You could be in the forest, gathered in a circle, in a little glade in the forest. And see in the center of our circle a little altar that we've created, that all of us have brought something sacred to us and placed it in the center of the circle. There might be a little candle burning there as well. In fact, if you have a candle, it's a good thing. I just remembered. If you have a candle tonight handy, you might light it. You don't need one, but if you do have one, I would suggest you light it. It could be a tea light. It doesn't have to be a big candle. It could be a tiny tea light. The work we're going to do later, a candle can be very useful. So I invite you to light that now and create this sacred space right where you are. And so we're all connected now energetically in the spiritual realms. So I'm going to talk tonight about the connective tissue of the invisible realms and what connects the visible and the invisible realms. Last week, we talked about what shamanism is, and as one who knows about the invisible realms, those realms of spirit, who's had some kind of awakening or background or training or preparation, and is learning how to navigate in those realms and how to bridge those realms for the benefit of the whole, of the individual and of the village and the community. So tonight, we're going to talk a bit more about that, what that connective tissue is, and how we've lost it, how we've lost it and how we can regain it again with a practice that will help with that. So the connective tissue, animism. Animism as a concept, the root of animism is animate or anima, and it has multiple meanings. Jung used it to refer to the spiritual part of our nature. And anima also means and refers to the soul or the spirit. Animism is at the core of shamanic practice, because all of nature and even the inanimate, what we think of as the inorganic life, is also seen to possess some kind of consciousness or intelligence. And it differs, of course, but that field of intelligence can be accessed and is always interacting with other fields of consciousness. Now, to our ancestors, perhaps the ones in the village that could sense, see, perceive, and work with that invisible intelligence may have seemed, powerful, and that somehow was like magic, right? Whereas to our modern minds, we now know about quantum physics and Einstein's famous equation, E equals mc squared, which basically means that all of matter is actually energy vibrating at different frequencies. So the idea that there is something that's invisible that is animating everything, including the densest rock or iron, which we would know as the densest, or maybe a diamond. But no matter how dense the material, there still is motion. There are electrons and protons and, subatomic particles that are actually in motion. So, it sort of, demystifies, don't you think? Demystifies the whole idea of animism. It's not that far out, it's not superstitious nonsense. It's actually scientific fact. So here we are in modern day, and we still, though, particularly in the West, while Eastern consciousness and ancient wisdom has reached us through yoga and meditation and such, we still are fairly new, and there still is a lot of dismissal of the idea that, us humans have a luminous energy field, a chakra system, even though that has been mapped for thousands of years by those in the East. So in shamanism, we're working with those fields of consciousness, and understanding that is made up of light, just like Einstein said, all matter is actually made of light, and light is intelligent. So this light contains information. And again, this is physics. This is not anything woohoo. So we're working with those fields of intelligence. And we are working with, reconnecting those filaments of light. So let's talk a bit about that. We're going to come back to the luminous energy field, but let's talk about how we lost our connection. And I'm not going to get into the history. I mean, we all know the history, and how we spent the last 2,000-3,000 years with a suppression of this wisdom, this ancestral wisdom. But more importantly, in the bigger picture, because we are beings on a mythic journey here, and humanity has, we're not here by accident. And the deepest wisdom is that we're here for a reason and a purpose. And so what we've been doing is exploring the limits of duality consciousness, which basically has to do with separation and opposites. The fact that, there's you and there's me, us and them, male and female, dark and light, up and down. So we have been exploring the limits of that kind of consciousness, which understands that everything operates in duality. And we have been playing with the extremes of that. What is the extreme darkest? It's like we've had to go to the most extreme dark place of, violence, depravity, aggression, the worst, things that we could conceive of. As a collective, we have been exploring that. And we now are at a point in the evolution of our consciousness where this was foretold, for thousands of years, the time of the great spiritual awakening, the time of the great shift, the quantum shift in human consciousness. The Mayans talked about it, the Eastern, the Tibetans, many indigenous cultures have prophecies related to this time, this great cycle, 26,000 year cycle, when we would be come to a new world age. And the key factor or feature of this new world age would be the awakening of our knowledge in mass globally, not just, prophets and small numbers of people in the population, but the whole of humanity being awakened to the truth of their spiritual nature and of the spiritual realms. And so that's where we are now. And I will be talking next week more about the dimensions, multidimensionality. So this is just a little brief intro to that we are now making the shift. We're in the transition from third dimensional reality, which is this physical one, that we're just physical beings, and, science and technology and where that can take us, and where it has taken us. And now we're on the verge of shifting to a higher state of consciousness and awareness, where we have different choices and different decisions to make. Because the fifth dimensional consciousness, where we're headed and where we are actually now, where humanity has shifted, we're just not all there yet. It's going to take a while for, everyone to catch up, is a place of where we've bridged the gap, where we've bridged that, and we are in more unity consciousness, aware that there's, many of us, we're all interconnected, that that we're one great field of consciousness that also is connected with the living biosphere and biome of the earth. So that's where we are right now, of making that shift to that higher frequency of consciousness. So again, this idea that everything is animated, connected with light, connected, that we are light, we have a luminous energy field that contains the codes and the information that informs the creation and the functioning of our physical, emotional, mental bodies. That they're all interconnected, and each of us is interconnected with each other and with all of life on the earth. Now, again, this is, ancient wisdom. Our ancestors knew this because they spend so much more time in the natural world than we do. And we have become disconnected from the natural world, and also from our own, full and true nature. Our own spiritual awareness has been shut down largely and is now reawakening. But the idea that the earth and all of nature is interconnected, again, is, mainstream. It's not accepted by all scientists yet, but it certainly has a lot of support and empirical scientific evidence under the guise of Gaia theory, or the Gaia hypothesis. And you may have heard of it. But basically what James Lovelock proposed and gave evidence for was that the earth is one great super organism that is self-regulating and adjusting, and is always creating the optimal conditions to sustain life. And so, here we are, again, this particular theory and this evidence is in keeping with the ancient wisdom of the earth being a sentient being that's alive and conscious and intelligent and communicating with us and with, each other all the time. And the science now is, again, more and more coming to light and bringing evidence and support for this idea. So here we are. There's a brief summary of the whole idea of animism and how it's not that far out anymore. It actually, makes a lot of sense, just logically and rationally. So let's talk about, the idea of power loss and how we've lost our power. One, from our disconnect from nature itself, which feeds us and sources us. I mean, literally, our bodies are designed to live on light. And that also is ancient knowledge from the East. There are people on the earth who actually live on light. And we are also carrying the burdens and the traumas from generations of violence and aggression and suppression. So we carry that in our field from our ancestors, from our past lives. And, we also are affected by the toxins. There's all kinds of physical poisons and toxins in our field, as well as energetic, electromagnetic toxins and interference in our luminous energy field. And so we are carrying all of that in our field, and not always in optimal conditions for our own body's luminous energy fields to self-correct and to clear and keep us well and healthy. So that brings us to the the whole idea of the luminous energy field and what we can be doing to take care of it. But before we get there, I want to talk about this this unity consciousness and how another way, very, very important. And again, this is ancient indigenous wisdom. There are tribes in the South Pacific who carry this wisdom about the unifying power of the heart, and how the heart ultimately is the great creator. That whatever we create with our minds, because our minds are a function in duality consciousness. We have a left brain and a right brain, and each side of our brain has different functions. And in the West, we put much more emphasis in our socialization and our values and in our education on developing the left brain. And we don't develop our right brain as much, which has to do with our intuition, our imagination, our creativity, and our deeper other ways of knowing. So that's one imbalance right there to be corrected. And then the other imbalance is that we put so much emphasis, on our mind, which is always is designed to be in conflict, to be able to, look at both sides, to make judgments and to make decisions. And we need a good operating and sound mind to function in the material world. But the problem is that it will always be functioning in that duality consciousness. So the answer is unifying the mind and the heart, bringing the mind and the heart into coherence. And you may have heard of Heart Math Institute. That's the whole, focus of the research that they've been doing for many years, and scientific studies showing the power of the heart. The fact is that our heart resonates at way, way higher frequency. The electromagnetic field of the heart is, now I've heard different quotes, but it's hundreds of times more powerful than the electromagnetic field of the mind. So when we say, love is power and love is powerful and love will win, it again has scientific evidence to support that. And so when we can connect and get our mind in resonance with our heart, and let our heart be the driver, follow your heart, right? Follow your heart's desires. Then you're in a much more powerful place, and the world, will begin to shift. So, so a lot of work that I do has to do with, the reclaiming and the shifting of our consciousness and our awareness to more whole body knowing. And again, this is a very shamanic way of being on the earth, in full physical body knowing, and in full heart, unified consciousness, knowing, and making that shift. They say it's the longest journey that we'll ever make is from our minds to our hearts. So, and the other part that I want to connect another thread, another luminous thread for you here, is that our hearts beat in resonance with the heart of Gaia. So, and when our hearts are open and connected to Gaia and beating in resonance with her, which actually is much slower than, our usual heart rate in our society, because we're usually under a lot of stress, and we're carrying all kinds of, stuff. We get triggered all the time, big trauma, small trauma. Our hearts are actually beating, and our breath rate is so much higher than ideal. And so one of the beautiful health benefits of this work, I learned personally, because I was a very anxious person for most of my life, trauma, usual childhood stuff, and being a sensitive. So that was a huge journey for me to, do the work, and the practices of stilling my mind and bringing it and into coherence with my heart. And so this, when we connect with Gaia, then she is able to connect with us and send us messages through dream time, through, you slow down, you're able to notice the synchronicities and the signs and the messages that she is always sending out. And so when you have those what seem like coincidences, but are actually synchronicities, these are evident. These are proof, and show you that things are lining up, that you're in the right place at the right time, that you're open and able to receive those confirmations of those connections that have always been there, but may have been too distracted or not able to take in and to really hear or see. So this has been part of my path of realizing how, the earth, nature, life, the universe has my back. And again, this is an assumption of the shamanic teachings that I have received, that the universe is benevolent, that, that nature is here for us, and Mother Earth is here. We are so loved and supported. So opening up to receive that love and support, to do our own healing work, and so that we then can be more available and of benefit to the whole, so that we can begin to make this shift, and again, this is not an overnight thing. If it were, we'd all be shifted already, right? But most of us, are spiritual warriors. We've come into this life, I would say, all of you here on this call, to make this shift and to be here, at this time, to support this shift on behalf of all of humanity. So here we are, coherence. That's what we want to. We want to become more coherent. We want to be all here. We want to have all our light, all our energy, all our sources of wisdom and support, which are many and great and varied, and to be connected again back into the fabric, to be rewoven, have our luminous energy fields, really connected to all the realms of nature and the heavens as well, and to the stars. So what else do we need to say here? So healing the past, our past traumas, is a big part of the shamanic path. And also, keeping our field and energy, our minds, our bodies, our spirits clear is like never been more important. It's always been important. But now as things get very, very chaotic and confused and conflictual, we're seeing, in the world, on the global stage, the polarization, right? We're seeing again the duality consciousness is like, whoa, right up there and always in our face. So never been more important to be able to stand in our own sovereign power and to be able to discern what's truth with what's true for us, and to have clarity and be very grounded, fully seated in our body and our body's wisdom. So clearing the luminous energy field, I'm going to teach you, is really good energetic hygiene. And when I started this path and I learned this technique, which is deceptively simple, because it's very powerful, it became my go-to. I worked for 10 years as a child therapist with abused and neglected children who lived in an institution. They lived there and went to school there because they weren't able to function. Very high levels of trauma of the worst kinds. And so I was a play therapist with them and would see them both individually for therapy and would do group therapy with them. And, so very high stress, as you can imagine. And at the end of the day, leaving there, I'd have to clear. I mean, I would have been sick. I mean, and I was actually getting sick a lot. And when I started to learn, when I learned this, I stepped onto this path and learned this simple technique, I would be backwashing chakras in the car on my drive home along a country road. But this was my go-to. So I'm going to lead you through backwashing your chakras. Now, this is, I'm not going to give a whole teaching. I'm going to assume I'll give the bones of our chakra system and lead you through the 7 main chakras we have. And you don't really need to know, a lot of information. You just need to know that we have 7 main energy centers within our body, starting from the base of our spine and right up to the top with the crown of our head. And it's best when you do this backwashing that you start at the base and move up. So that's what we're going to do today. Though once you get used to doing it, you can just zero in wherever you're feeling and sensing that you need to start clearing. So backwashing. So chakra is a wheel of light, and we have an energetic, luminous energy body. That we all have the same body, just like we have similar. We all have 2 arms and 2 legs and 1 head and 1 torso. We all have a similar energetic body that informs our physical, and that luminous field is also those chakras, those centers, those wheels. Chakra just means wheel, spinning wheel. So they're wheels of light. And they, when they're functioning normally, spin in a clockwise direction, just like the Earth spins in a clockwise direction, because the Earth also has a luminous energy field, and animals have them too. There are fields of light around all living organic things. So to backwash, what we do is we spin it backwards, counterclockwise. And what that does is allow us to gather up any heavy energy that's nested in and lodged in that field of light. Because our chakras are always feeding through meridians, through they're like the big super highway thing. And then we have all these other roads that take energy to all the organs and systems and all parts of our body, feeding it with prana, with life force. And so when things get built up within the chakras, that's when we have a loss of physical vitality and energy, and it can we get blocks, to major organs or body systems, and that causes and eventually will cause disease and ill health. So unwinding them and clearing out that whatever we can energetically is very good hygiene and a daily practice. So you're going to use your hand, and because your hand is electromagnetic, right? And so it will, and as you get used to doing this, you may not right away have a sense. So you just may have to trust me that something is happening. And so there will be a certain number of you here who will be, sure, your monkey mind will be going, I don't think anything is happening. Well, just try it and see what happens. And there are others of you from the last class, I know that there was a range of experience. Some people had quite profound experiences, and some people, less so. So it depends, of course, on the current health of your luminous energy field, and yours might be quite vibrant and shining with rainbow light. And but most of us gather up. Just this is the heaviest, densest plane of existence in the galaxy. So toxins and heavy energy is the name of the game here. It's just par for the course of being a human walking on planet Earth. But we're going to so I'm going to invite you to start with your first chakra. Now you can access your first chakra between your legs or in front of your pubic bone. So counterclockwise, just to give you a tip here, is towards your right shoulder. So it's like as if the clock were on the front of your body, and you're going backwards, right, from 12 to 11 to 10 to 9. So towards your right shoulder. So I invite you to start down and get in as close to it's your own body, so you don't have to worry about violating your own physical space. Get down and right next to your skin or to your body, at least within 2 or 3 inches of your physical body, and just begin with your fingers, just twirling them around and just noticing. You just keep going in that counterclockwise way, just spinning, spinning using your fingers, and just noticing the sensation. I feel like when there's hucha or heavy energy in my chakras, it just is like my fingers get a little sticky. It's like I can feel the stickiness. So so what you do when you feel it getting sticky, flick it either to your candle if you've got a candle lit, or just to the earth, and it will just settle. The earth can use it. The earth is she's a master composter. So she just takes the energy, the heavy energy, and reuses it. You're just getting it out of your field. You're dislodging it from those luminous fibers. And so when you feel that you've cleared everything, like your fingers no longer, now some people feel warmth, temperature, everyone senses differently. So so just notice, what you're sensing. And when it feels clear, like for me, what happens is it's like my fingers start to be able to move more quickly. It's like I'm just noticing, I'm not letting my head get into it too much. I'm just being aware of what I'm noticing. So now my root chakra feels, there was a little stuff in my root chakra, and now I've just been flicking it to the earth or to the candle, which I've got lit right there. And so when that chakra feels clear, then I'm going to invite you to turn it a few spins, 5 or 6 spins in a clockwise direction, and that will rebalance it. That will rebalance it. Now, last time I'm adding this, so if you were here, for those of you who were in the first class, I said, you didn't have to do that, but some people got in a little trouble. I think their energetic system was very sensitive. So I'm going to advise you to rebalance that chakra. Whatever chakra you're working at, when you're finished with it, rebalance it in a clockwise, a few spins. And then move up to the second chakra. Your second chakra is about 2 finger widths below your belly button. And that's your sacral chakra. It's your emotional center. And I tend to, collect up a lot of stuff there too, because I'm an empath, especially if I'm, out in public situations or around someone who's upset. I'll take in a lot of stuff there. So, so again, counterclockwise toward your right shoulder and collecting up and letting your fingers, as you practice this, you'll learn to just let your body do its own thing. Like, you're not, and because your body is very wise and intuitively knows these things. But when you're learning, you just, may have to stay a little more mind focused, but this will become very automatic and intuitive if you've practiced it. So clearing, now the other way that I noticed that I've cleared the energy is I just will take an involuntary in-breath, and that tells me, there's been a shift of energy. Again, so just noticing, just paying attention and flicking it to the earth, flicking any heavy energy, and doing it until it feels clear. It feels like that wheel of light, is moving, really well, like it's effortless. And then remembering to rebalance in the clockwise direction, a few spins. And then the third chakra is your solar plexus, and it's just below your rib cage. And that's usually a beautiful yellow color. Your center of will and your power. And so spinning backwards, counterclockwise towards your right shoulder, flicking away. Now you may be noticing a difference in the energy of each of these chakras. And if you are, that's good. You're tuned in, you're feeling, because they vibrate at different frequencies, because they have different functions. And we are a multidimensional being, right? We have all these different frequencies. And we go, our root chakra, which is closest to the earth. This is low, vibrates at the lowest range. Actually, we have one in the earth as well that vibrates even slower, more at the rate of Mother Earth. And so flicking away, flicking any heaviness into your flame or into the earth, and then rebalancing that. And of course, you can be going at your own speed here. So I'm just cluing everyone in for those who may need the knowledge of where your main chakras are in your body. So the next one is your heart, and it's in the center of your chest. And I'm going along with you here. I'm giving myself a little tune up and clearing myself here. It's feeling pretty good, actually. So you may be noticing, just be aware of your body, how your body is responding to this. And sometimes when you're working, you, especially when you're quiet and still, there are things that can come up. You can have emotions arise. You can have memories come. You've tapped into something, into that. Because remember, your luminous energy field is a field of information. And there are different levels to your field, but for now, we're just, that's more advanced work. Right now, we're just working with the well, with the chakra well, with those centers that takes in the prana, the living light of the universe and of the earth. It comes in actually through the bottom of your feet and through the top of your head. Earth energy and sky energy. That's what we are. We are a portal between heaven and earth. So clearing and remembering to rebalance, 5 or 6 spins, in a clockwise direction. And then your throat chakra, and this is your beautiful blue here, sky blue. Spinning towards your right shoulder. Whew. See, just noticing how your body responds to clearing out, clearing some of that heavy energy that you've been carrying. You might be feeling lighter already. And just, more in your body, more calm, more relaxed. Just notice how you feel. And you may also have, I should let you know, you may also have some physical sensations that'll come up because something gets triggered in your physical field. Again, just showing you that everything is connected, right? So your luminous energy field is connected to all your body systems, all your muscles, your bones, all your organs, your big toe, the hair on top of your head. It's all connected. And connected, to the luminous energy field. We actually have 2 binding glues. I'm just rewinding now my throat chakra. Okay, 6, 2 more to go. So third eye, center of the forehead. This is our spiritual sight. Beautiful indigo color. Clearing out here. So I was just going to, I'm taking advantage of having a captive audience and we're all here working to just throw in some extra wisdom here. We have 2 binding glues. So we have our luminous energy field, which is, our divine body, our spiritual body, our soul, you might say. And we also have the electromagnetic field, which is more the glue that holds our physical body and animates our physical body. So connected to, the sunlight, and to the magnetic field of the earth. So our electromagnetic field, and that is connected with our heart. And so when our heart stops beating, then that field will collapse. But we still have the luminous field. And this, by the way, is some of the deeper teachings and practices of the Dying Consciously work. Just saying. I find all this fascinating. I assume you do too. You wouldn't be here. Okay, how's everyone doing? Okay, so rewinding. Now, last one, crown, top of head. And this, of course, is what connects us to source, right? To the sun, through our local sun, to the galactic sun, and ultimately to the great cosmic sun, the divine intelligence, however we know and understand that. Whew. So clearing whatever's up there, flicking it away to the earth or to your flame. So a perfect time to do this is in the shower. Because when you're in the shower, you can let the water, the element of water, you can call on their assistant, the water spirits, to wash the heavy energy down the drain. So that's one recommended thing. If you take a shower or a daily shower, to do this in the shower. Okay. And so remembering to rebalance. So hopefully everyone now is feeling better, but I'd love to hear, if you want to put a note in the chat there about what you're noticing, any observations, how you're feeling now compared to when you started. And you can also put it in our Facebook group too. Can share it there. So I have time for questions. What are we doing? We've got 10 minutes. Perfect. All right. So if you have a question or a comment, anything you'd like to share, put it in the chat, and Catherine will come and unmute you, or will tell me the question, right, Catherine? You know, if anyone has a question or anything to share. Love to get your feedback on that.
Yeah, I'll just let you know what some of the sensations are until I see a question here. Definitely felt a lot, feeling more awake, more energy, lighter and more present. Some chakras had more sensation than others. Headachy, lighter, energized. Sometimes I feel other feelings. In peace.
Yeah.
But I don't see any questions yet in the chat.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, what I'd recommend, you notice I just had to have a drink of water, hydrating yourself after you've done that kind of clearing. Really, really helpful to drink some water and to rehydrate, because you have done an energetic intervention, and you know, it's very powerful work. It can stir up things as well. So just to bear that in mind, that if you do feel like, you know, you're over your head, then that you know, seek out some support, reach out to me. If you have any questions at all about or anything you'd like to share, then like I said, the Facebook group is a beautiful place for sharing that. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions about anything I've covered today so far.
There is one here. Do we always use the right hand?
Doesn't matter which hand you use. If my right hand is my dominant one, but you can use if you're a lefty, or, you know, doesn't matter. But you still go in the same direction, like you still go counterclockwise towards your right shoulder, no matter which hand you use.
I just noticed Diana put in lots of yawning, which prompted me to yawn. So do you want to speak about what that is, Allison, what yawning is?
Again, yawning is another way we release energy. So what that's saying is that your body is experiencing some energetic shifts and is releasing. So yawning, and also feeling, like I say, some involuntary, like just out breaths, right? Again, our breath is another very shamanic tool to use, breath work, you know, some very powerful healing work to be done with the breath and releasing through the breath, because the breath is our connections, the connection between our spirit body and our physical body. So it's actually a bridge. So just noticing all of those things are telling you that you've had some energy shifts, something has happened, and that your body readjusting, you know, to the new norm. To the new normal. Yeah.
And there's a couple of other comments, bringing remembrance back, and feeling nice and warm now. Started off being very cold.
Ah, interesting. So you got more energy flowing. Some things, you know, places in the body where there wasn't energy flowing before. And on the other hand, sometimes I can often experience a sudden coolness. That's just you know, like where my body temperature drops. Again, these are all ways that you're registering, that you know, your body is letting you know that something is changed, something is happening. What I usually associate a cooling with some new energy coming in, right? It's just like a fresh breeze. You've got more space, right, in your luminous energy field, and some things have moved out, and now there's space for new air and new light to come in. So it's all about the light, right? The light of consciousness, remember, is what we're working with here, and shifting and bringing in, right? Calling back our light, calling back more of that consciousness, of that divine consciousness and information. So any other questions or comments before I finish up here? No. Okay, so do reach out. Leave comments, questions on the Facebook group. That's a perfect way then, because everyone gets to share and to learn too. And the link for the Facebook group, if you haven't already joined, Catherine has in the chat, right, Catherine? Yeah, thank you. All right. Okay, so your deepening practice, I hope you're enjoying your course guide. A lot of thought went into that about how you could, spend some time reflecting on the teachings in the class and how you're responding to it and, how it feels, noticing, right? Again, remembering that right now, this is about unifying all our intelligence, calling back all our ways of knowing and all our gifts and capacities so that we can move into that new dimension, into that higher, because we're on that ascension pathway into a higher frequency of consciousness where we have to bring all of ourselves, right? We can't go there, separated and, in duality consciousness, right? So, and again, being patient and kind, because this is not an overnight process. This is going to take many, many years for this to complete, but this is where we are. This is the opportunity ahead of us. So as part of your deepening practices for the week, one, I invite you to use your this backwashing and and share what you're noticing in the Facebook group. But back to the whole idea of animism and how everything is animated. I mean, this for me was the big shift in my consciousness when I became aware of how interconnected I was and how nature and the universe was communicating with me all the time and sending me messages. And I tell that story in my book, Return to Pangea. So there are questions in your course guide for you to reflect on your own awareness of things that you knew and know without knowing how you know, of your own experiences with synchronicities and signs and connection with the more than human world, both in nature itself, with all the elements of nature, and with spirits, to reflect on that, and the energies of place, the energies of place and environments and people, and so to do some reflecting on how tuned in, because I think you're going to be surprised to know that you're pretty tuned in already. And so bringing awareness to it and consciousness to it can allow you to receive more of that kind of guidance and information that's always coming to you. And the deepening practice to have a dialogue with the natural world, to somewhere in nature, wherever you have access to, if it's a tree or a plant or a special rock or a stream or a river, to engage in dialogue. And you might feel a little silly at first, talking to a tree, but just to see what happens. The biggest mistake we make sometimes is, we forget that the tree or the river has its own language. And so we have to cultivate stillness and receptivity to actually hear how it may be communicating with us. So, for example, you may, ask a tree, its name. This is one of the practices I do, my nature therapy walks, is, tell the tree your name and something about yourself and ask it to tell you your name, its name, and then to listen, and just see, it may be a rustling of leaves or a movement or something may just pop into your head. There's that intuitive. So it's practicing the deep listening and paying attention more deeply, slowing down and cultivating that openness, to receive the message. So the heart, your heart, connecting with your heart is the most important thing. And I have to tell you this, I have to share, I had a special, very special heart thing that happened today that was like such a gift. I live, as you probably know, in Newfoundland, and I'm right on the water. I live in a bay, a beautiful bay called Bon Bay. And today, I was walking along the shore, along a path, and heard what I thought were whales, and then thought, no, it's the wrong time of year. It can't be a whale. And then I heard it again, and sure enough, the bay was full of whales, and they were fishing and feeding. And I mean, it was just a magical moment for me, and very special because I had actually been connecting in my meditation and prayers this morning with the whales. And then to have them show up in the bay. I mean, it felt pretty special and magical. And that's the kind of thing, you have those experiences, and it may not be appreciated by others in your life. Hopefully you have people in your life that you can share those kinds of encounters and special synchronicities with, because that's the magic. That is us reweaving ourselves back into the circle of life. That's what we're here to do. And so I wish you many blessings. I look forward to speaking to you again next week, where we'll be talking about multidimensionality and journeying, and we'll be doing some journey work. And I wish you, a beautiful week. I know things are crazy, so on the planet, but find your place of love, and practice connecting with your heart, inviting your beautiful mind to just come rest on the pillow of your heart. And find a tree or something in nature that calls you, and begin a dialogue, begin to have a conversation. Anyway, thank you all for coming tonight. So beautiful. I feel so honored to be here, and I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday night. Have a beautiful week. Oh, and before you go, I can't let you go yet. Sunday is new moon, and I will be having a new moon circle. So I will put the notice in the Facebook group, and also we'll send the invitation. I can do that, right, Catherine? I can send a notice of that, yeah, to you, to make sure you get it. If you're not on my regular newsletter list, then you might miss it. So I will make it a point to send it to you. So new moon, really important time to come to plant the seeds of your dreams and your prayers and intentions for the coming cycle, which is like such a powerful time to be doing this work. So blessings. Good night, everyone. Good night. See you next week. Take good care.